Alright folks, today we're talking about John Carpenter's Toxic Commando, a brand new 4-player cooperative zombie shooter, and naturally the comparison that merely came to mind was Back 4 Blood, a game that released only a few years ago and tries to carry the Left 4 Dead torch. So the real question is simple: did Toxic Commando actually evolve the formula, or are we basically playing another variation of the same thing? Let's break it down. Both games follow a pretty familiar setup: a group of survivors thrown together by circumstance, fighting their way through a zombie apocalypse. But the way each game handles its characters is very different. In Back 4 Blood you start with 8 characters at launch. Each one has their own passive ability that affects gameplay. These little passive abilities may seem small, but they do add something important: team strategy. Because you've got 8 characters with different team benefits, players can mix and match builds to create different squad setups. And when the expansion came out, the roster grew larger, so there was always room to experiment. Now compare that to Toxic Commando. Here you only get 4 characters, and those characters themselves honestly don't really matter that much. You can basically pick whoever you like because your character choice doesn't affect gameplay. Instead, the game relies on a class system, so your role comes from the class you pick rather than the character itself. So while the characters themselves aren't very distinctive, the class still gives players defined roles in that combat. It's a different design philosophy. Back 4 Blood focuses on character identity and team synergy. Toxic Commando features on class roles. Neither system is necessarily wrong, but the Back 4 Blood definitely gives players more variety to experiment with. Visually, the games are trying to complete two completely different things. Back 4 Blood leans heavily into the Left 4 Dead style of survivors. Characters look like regular people: normal clothes, casual outfits, people who look like they was caught in the middle of an outbreak. Toxic Commando goes in the opposite direction. The characters are mercenaries, equipped with high-tech power harnesses that protect them from infection and give them superhuman abilities. So instead of desperate survivors, you're basically playing sci-fi zombie hunters. That concept is cool, but when it comes to visual quality, Back 4 Blood actually comes out ahead. When it comes to zombie design, both games are very similar. Back 4 Blood has more distinctive enemy categories and better designs, but Toxic Commando does something impressive with scale. During certain moments, the game throws absolutely massive zombie hordes at the player, far larger than anything Back 4 Blood ever attempted. So while the zombie textures themselves are pretty low resolution in both games, Toxic Commando wins when it comes to pure horde spectacle. When it comes to environments, this is where the games really start to diverge. Back 4 Blood sticks closely to the Left 4 Dead formula. Levels are linear, fairly short, designed to be replayed multiple times. Instead of giant open spaces, the game uses systems like mutation cards to change the experience of each run. The environments themselves are classic zombie settings like gas stations, suburbs, schools, farms and highways, and they usually take place at night, which helps build the horror atmosphere. Toxic Commando takes a different approach. Their maps are very much larger and more open. Players can explore wide environments and even use vehicles to move across the map. You're encouraged to search for spare parts and repair defense like turrets before triggering a final horde event. So the gameplay loop becomes more about exploration and preparation. An interesting twist on the co-op zombie formula. Graphically, neither game is exactly pushing any of the boundaries, but Back 4 Blood still holds a few advantages. The lighting system has still strong contrast and atmosphere. Dark areas actually feel dark. Flashlights matter. Toxic Commando, on the other hand, tends to look very bright and washed out. Sometimes the lighting feels flat, which is strange because the game does have some modern visual effects. Vehicles can actually create deep muddy tracks in the ground as you drive. That's something that Back 4 Blood doesn't have. The Toxic Commando also has better water physics and larger particle effects, so it's a weird situation where the game has more advanced systems, but the overall visual presentation still looks weaker. So where does this leave us? Toxic Commando is a somewhat solid 4-player zombie shooter, but it's not doing anything new. The massive zombie hordes and vehicle gameplay are cool ideas, to be fair, but the game's visuals, lighting and long-term replayability might hold it back. Back 4 Blood isn't perfect either. It never quite reached the heights of Left 4 Dead, but over time it built a decent amount of content and still delivers a more polished experience. So if we're comparing the two directly, Toxic Commando brings bigger hordes and larger maps. Back 4 Blood brings a stronger art direction, better character variety and more refined gameplay systems. But now I want to hear from you. Are you enjoying Toxic Commando, or do you still prefer Back 4 Blood? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy honest gameplay discussions like this, don't forget to like and subscribe.